Welcome, everybody. Just want to let you know these two people like the chicken wing for their favorite pinning combination. I just like to eat chicken wings. Welcome to the prep edition of the pinning combination. I'm KJ Pilcher alongside Wyatt Schultz of the Predicament and Coach Dick Briggs, bringing you some of the results from last week's prep wrestling action here in eastern Iowa and a little bit further, and a look of what's upcoming for some of those teams as well. First big weekend, Independence didn't have any chicken wings in the hospitality room, but
turkey stuffing.
Was it really?
God, it was good too.
There you go.
They did a good job.
Independence, one of the big tournaments. We'll recap a few that went down, including the big traditional tournament at Cedar Falls with the Keith Young Invitational. We'll also touch on Bob Murphy, Williamsburg duels, and a couple others. A couple other results that kind of stand out here in this first week of competition. But
And you guys were, we'll start it off. You guys went off to Solon and Williamsburg this weekend, or last Thursday.
Yeah. We had that duel.
Kick things off, and that was kind of interesting. Two teams ranked in the tournament rankings in Class 2A. Williamsburg came away with a 47-27 victory there.
Right. I believe Solon was 6th and Williamsburg 10th, and the Williamsburg beat Solon, I think, by 10, if I remember right. Was that what it was? And anyway, so really, from what I've seen, and after watching Williamsburg in the dual tournament, they did win the Raider duels, and they beat Assumption 39-29. And so they look like a real solid team up and down the line, I thought, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Not balanced. Really impressed with the way that they went after bonus points in the duel that we had them. When the opportunities were there, they went after it and capitalized on those situations. And you always like to see that out of your team, especially early on in the season.
Right. And same thing happened in the duel. So they were first. Assumption was second. Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont was third. Marshalltown fourth. Van Meter, who had a heck of a duel evidently with Williamsburg to go to the state duels last year, the regional duel finals. I think it went down to 1 point last year.
Yeah, I think Van Meter was actually unbeaten during the regular season even. But
and they were fifth. CPU, Center Point Urbana was sixth. East Buchanan seventh, and Mediapolis eighth. So that's how that ended up.
One of the things with the Williamsburg Solon duel, Hayden Taylor, defending state champion 2A, earned bonus points in that duel, and then actually went to Indy. Solon was up there in that big field. Taylor came away with a championship at 145, but the story there, maybe about a mile away from Solon, where Lisbon sits, Cale Happel with a huge day Saturday in that two-day event. Happel, part of a stacked 138-pound weight class that had 8 ranked wrestlers from 3 different states, maybe even 4. Was one of the
3 states, but
there was a ranked wrestler from Wisconsin.
Oh, sure.
Was there another one from Christian Brothers in the mix there, or from Missouri?
Was it Simley?
Well, Simley, but that was so.
That's Minnesota.
So,
yeah.
But Smithville
from Missouri. Yep. So 4 different states with ranked wrestlers in that bracket.
And just to let you know, there's 33 teams there, and it's a 32-man bracket, I assume, with the pigtail if they have all 33. And in some cases, I noticed that some schools brought extra maybe to fill in, so some of them had kids that were doing very well. Both kids did very well. But that 38 pound. So Taylor, as I understand it, his descent plan wouldn't allow him to go down yet, I believe. And so
I think it might be a little bit.
Right. So that's not going to happen. So if he would have been there, I think that would have put 4 state champions. Am I right there? 4 state champs.
Yep.
4 state champs and 1 from each class.
And one from each, and one from Minnesota.
Right,
Yep.
and 1 from Minnesota.
And I think that at least three of them. I thought. I'm not sure about Taylor. I'm guessing he is also ranked nationally. Am I right there? I thought
I don't know if Taylor
I don't know.
is.
I'd
that's
have
the one
to-
I'm questioning. So
I,
I know,
I didn't. I
I'll
didn't have
look that up
Taylor.
really quick. while
I'm
you
pretty sure
guys-
Happel's 6th.
And I was going by tracks.
Sokol
rankings.
is 7th, and I'm not sure what Rachi. Am I saying that right? Rachi.
Retin
From
was
Ankeny?
9th
He was 9th.
nationally going in. Happel was 7th, and Sokol was 2nd.
Was second.
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
second. Okay, how about that?
And those are track rankings because I think
That's what I was using as well.
Intermat had something different where they actually had Happel 6th and Sokol 7th.
Maybe
Is that
that's what
you
I was
mentioned?
thinking.
Yeah, that was
Internet.
Intermat. Yep.
Or Internet, I mean.
So
Anyway, what a weight class. So Simile won the tournament 424 total points. Second was Lisbon with 377. So I mean, there's 50-point difference between first and second. Simile had 10 in the top 6. I remember a 33 in a bracket, right? 10 in the top 6. They had 3 firsts, 3 seconds. So they had 6 finalists and 2 thirds. So 8 of their weights were in the top 3.
Over
That's
half.
pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid. I don't know. Did they award an OW? If they did, I'm pretty,
it was
pretty
Happel.
sure it was Apple. Yeah.
Happel was
Yeah.
the OW. It was really impressive in the semis, beating Rathian 6-5. Caleb got a takedown towards the end to make it a little bit closer, but Happel with 2 opening takedowns in the first period for a 4-1 lead, and really wasn't threatened the rest of the way. I think he had a reversal in the second as well against Sokol. 2 really impressive takedowns, quick, low attacks.
You mean Happels?
Yes.
Oh, that they were.
Against Sokol.
And I think Sokol even got in there a couple times deep that Happel was able to either sprawl or scramble his way out of those situations. And it's like, wow, you know, you talk about a great. Well, that wasn't the only great match, but great finals that night. That Happel Sokol match was just awesome.
And he came away with a 5-3 win there in the championship.
You know, and then to even get there, he had to beat Ratch and Caleb out of now the defending 3A state champion just to get to the finals.
Right. Yeah, a big day for him, and it was one of those things where maybe a little bit of a mix. He said he wanted to make a statement, but then said it was just another. It's just wrestling to him. It's just.
But it did.
But he had mentioned when he found out that Sokol was there, he turned to his mom, Dawn, who a big supporter of all her kids and their activities, said, "I'm gonna beat the number 2 kid in the country this weekend." And sure enough, writing a check, and he was able to cash it too. You can fill in the blanks on the saying there.
Because I had mentioned last week how I felt he had a great summer. Mm-hmm. And I told him afterwards, I said, you not only had a great summer, I said, you had a great tournament.
Yeah.
Right. And so, not a bad week for the descent plan not to allow Taylor to go down. Because he won a title, like we said, at 45. So, also, kind of impressive was Lindmar's performance, I thought. Did you?
I thought it was great. Anytime you get freshmen winning that tournament,
That freshman being.
and a freshman winning that thing,
Noctiborn.
Noctiborn. I thought it, and actually Simley had a freshman as well that was pretty impressive to me too. But that Noctiborn, Lindmar had two champions with O'Brien at 106. So
Yeah.
I thought Lindmar had a pretty
Right.
good tournament.
Yeah, and Noctiborn, his whole tournament, he beat Williams of Osage in the finals, 5-1 at 160. The one thing that struck me immediately that I thought was really impressive. Okay, he's up 5-1. There's like 4 seconds to go, and he's riding. Right, that's time just to hold on and just let those 4 seconds tick off. He was working for a tilt. He was still looking to add
that.
points. He wasn't just sitting on, okay, I've got this, 3, 2, 1. He was like, no, I'm looking for more than just a 5-1 lead. And I'd love to see that, and not only see it, but from a freshman in a big tournament like that says a lot about that. you know,
Says a lot about high school wrestling, man.
Well, a
Just
lot
keep
about
it
him
credible, I mean.
and also the coaching.
yeah.
You know,
And don't forget, they also had a runner-up, Bryce Park. So
Yeah. Parkey with a nice win against Blair from
was that Christian?
out of state.
Yeah, was that Christian
Might have been.
Brothers?
I'll have to look here really quick, but you know that was a highly touted opponent that he was able to come away.
from Simley, DeBlair.
Or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly.
And then also, while you're looking that up, Ryan Plummer was third for Linmar. So they had 4 really high-placing
Yep.
kids.
And Parkey even wrestled Taylor tough in the finals. O'Brien had to come away with a nice, really tough ride in the ultimate tiebreaker to come away with a victory there as well. So they looked, like you said, they looked pretty good, especially those.
So that
top
one went
four.
all the way. I didn't know, see that. It went
Yeah.
all the way to the ultimate
All the
tiebreaker.
Yeah.
tiebreaker.
Yeah.
And Cash Raymond, a very impressive wrestler, just an 8th grader for Simley.
And then we'll throw something out there with Des Moines Lincoln because
Mickey Griffith.
Yeah, he's been making nice small steps down there at Lincoln, Dusty Rowland, and you know Griffin's only a sophomore, and I thought he had a nice little tournament because he's another one of those that was still working for points at the end of the match.
Mickey Griffith was
Yeah.
the champion at 170.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so I think Limar tied Ankeny for fifth. I believe Lisbon came away second place behind Simley. Robert Avila Jr. With a title at 132 right before Kale. You know, I know a lot has been the light's been kind of shined on and Happel there, and rightfully so, because of what he was able to do. And you know that was a bracket with 3 Division I wrestlers. You know, Happel, obviously a great get for UNI, and that's proven out to be even more so. Rathjen's going to Iowa. And then Sokol, who decommitted from Iowa and then has committed again to Cornell University. But Avila Jr. Wrestled Hunter Garvin in the finals at 132.
Garvin from Iowa City West.
Yep, and Garvin was a 3A runner-up last year at the state tournament, while Avila won the 1A state title. And that was one that Avila came away with a victory, I believe 11-8. And I tell you what, those first 2 periods, the action of those first 2 periods, I tell you, it was really fun because they just were going at each other and
I was a match side with Andy Hamilton and we were going by the over and under because it was a good high scoring match. You know, things kind of slowed down a little bit towards that third period. I think they were getting tired, but
well, that and kind of kind of being a little safer,
right.
You know,
and they had felt their way around the first couple periods, so you know they got
not necessarily shutting down, but you know,
Yeah.
like you said, just kind of gearing down a little bit.
11-8 isn't shutting down
No.
necessarily. So, but that's kind of Avila. He's kind of a wide open guy. So and then
he
all-
likes to let it flow.
right, and then Iowa City West had another runner up in
Will Hoft.
Real hope.
Yep.
182.
182. One of the things, really quick, with Avila that I thought was really impressive, you know, with Garvin, they're on the edge of the mat during one of those takedowns in the first period, and he's extended on a double, and Garvin's on his feet out of bounds, and he's trying to keep his feet in, and he had the strength to suck in that double right there just with his upper body and was able to drop Garvin on his butt out of bounds and still keep his feet in. It was really impressive, and it was like, oh, wow. That tells you a little bit about Avila's strength as well. You know, he's very, very smooth and wide open, but he's also got enough strength to do that. That was pretty impressive there as well. And one of the other individual performances, I was impressed by, and during the broadcast of Solon Williamsburg, we talked a little bit about this, about the competition at heavyweight with at heavyweight among the WAMAC wrestlers and how deep that is there. Tavin Rich from Makokata came away with a finals appearance there as well, and I believe he
won
beat
it. Yeah.
Dan
Yeah.
Sentinels, Fort Madison in the finals.
He's
to
a big
win it.
boy.
I'll get to see him Saturday. I'm roughing the Zimmerman Zimmerman tournament up there, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's actually a fall in 39 seconds.
Yeah.
So that was pretty impressive as well. And we mentioned Taylor from Solon, who rolled his way through the 145 pound. Oh, the one other thing with Notgaborn that I wanted to mention and forgot to. I believe he had 4 pins over the 2-day total. 2 days total.
Mm-hmm.
He had 4 pins. He had a major decision, and then the 5-1 victory. So he had 4 pins, and then in 2 matches that went the distance. In those 2 matches, he outscored opponents 17-2
Wow.
from a freshman.
For a freshman.
So
In this tournament.
yeah, yeah. So that was really impressive.
Some other things before we move on. Solon did finish 9th. Let's see. Independence was 7th. Their highest place winner was Cole Davis at 182. He was 3rd. Iowa City West was 8th. Solon was 9th. And Prairie finished 12th. Their highest finish was Austin Kegley. It was 5th at 120. And Hampstead was, these are kind of local areas, schools. They finished 15th. Their highest placer was Ben Faber at 145. Makokata, as we mentioned, with Rich, and their champion was 17th. So not bad for Makokata. They've done a nice job moving up there.
Yeah. One other thing I wanted to point out was the 113 final. The battle of state champions between Carter Faustick and Trevor Anderson, Faustick of Crestwood and Anderson of Ankeny. We had that overtime match of 106 that went down to the tiebreaker, ultimate tiebreaker, and then the very next one, that bout. Right up there, too, is one of the more exciting finals where Faustick was able to get a takedown. A little flurry there where it looked like he might be giving up to, and then turned it around and scored the winning takedown to beat Anderson 8-6.
Yeah,
In sudden victory.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite a flurry right there at the end to get that, and then somebody like Frazier out of Burlington getting 3rd. He was he a finalist last year, I believe.
Not sure.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember.
I can't, but he was a place winner too. So
West Burlington.
yeah,
Notre
for
Dame.
West Burlington.
So, obviously, a lot of great action at Indy. We'll head a little, what would be west? A little west of Indy.
Pretty much
Cedar
straight
Falls?
west, right
Straight
down
west?
Highway
Right.
20, right?
The Keith Young Invitational, one of the pillars of early season tournaments. Obviously,
So I've heard.
Yeah, you've been a part of that for many years. Waverly Shell Rock. I know Don Bosco wasn't at full strength. Union wasn't at full strength, but Waverly Shell Rock still a really impressive team title there, scoring 241 points.
They
Well, they well outdistanced.
About 86 points ahead of Bettendorf.
Bettendorf and Don
third.
Bosco, like you said, I think both of them were with. I don't think Bettendorf's heavyweight was there at least.
Oh, sure.
Lytle.
So I don't think he was there. So anyway, both of them were ranked number 1. I don't know if they will be. So Waverly Shell Rock made a statement. There's about
Right.
what, 80 point difference there, 90 point difference. And anyway, then between first and second. But then West Delaware beats Waverly Shell Rock last Thursday, was it? In a duel. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll see what happens along the way. Obviously, West Delaware is 2A and Waverly Shell Rock is 3A, but kind of tells you where, I think Waverly Shell Rock might be the team to beat right now in 3A for.
And I don't think,
Seen Southeast
or did
both
you
yet.
say that Union wasn't up full strength either? I
I
don't
mentioned
believe.
that. Yeah.
Union
Their two
only
big
had,
guns. Their
they-
two big guns were there with Thompson and
Right.
Aronson, who both won titles.
They only had 8 wrestlers there.
Yeah.
Union did, so I'm not sure So Don Bosco only had 7 rustlers.
Yeah, and the Tennell twins were gone, and as well as Thomas.
Oh, I take that back. Union had 8 place winners, I think, maybe, but had 14 errors.
Yeah.
One of the things with Don Bosco, obviously, don't know the specifics there. We talked about this a little bit with Solon and Williamsburg. Both of them had deep football playoff runs. Don Bosco was in the same boat, coming away with
Won their title.
8-man title, where Coach Kobe Yoder, and people know him on the wrestling side of things too. Corey Christensen, I think, as an assistant. So they had quite a few people that might have a little bit to do with whether or not they were in the field this weekend.
Yeah, and
as well.
the Tennell twins, and even and I think Cale Frost is the quarterback, and there's 4 right there that weren't there. So,
But the ones that were there, this was a really deep tournament, even with those being gone. And it might be a case of it's deep and there's a lot of potential winners, or it's difficult to seed. I'm not sure. Actually, I know it was deep. Only 8 of the number 1 seeds were able to win, and most of those were ranked number 1, and probably maybe defending champs or something. So that's nearly half of them number 1 seeds didn't win. So Kennedy actually did pretty well. They had 7 place winners. Going up the line, Cale Long was 4th at 106. 138, Ty Pfiffner was 6th. 145, Dylan Flack was 4th. 170, Alex Cook Koch. I'm a West Sider. It could be any of those 3, right? I'm sorry, Alex was 5th. 170. At 182, Jay Osendorp was 3rd. 220, Gavin Bascom was 5th. And 285, Josh Viss was a champ. A couple of names missing from that lineup, maybe too. So
Cade Parker not
that's what I'm thinking.
there. Could be a few different things.
I talked to Jeff Knox yesterday, and his. I'm not sure what's going to happen with his son. He's injured, so
really?
we'll see how
Cale?
that. He had a football injury,
we've kind of always talked about this before. With like the Keith Young and the Independence tournament, it's these tournaments are so brutal at the first weekend of the year
Right.
that it's almost you almost like to see this same tournament right before Christmas, so they got a break. They're so impressive of tournaments.
Couple local finishers that kind of caught my eye a little bit. Belle Plains Ethan Alley came away with a 4th place finish at 220. And then
That's nice to see,
You
'cause-
mentioned Dawson Sweet of Jefferson that
Dawson,
finished
Dawson.
third at heavyweight.
Belle Plaine, a couple of years ago, had as few as maybe 6 or 7 people on their team total. So it's good to see them
Get some place winners.
absolutely, you bet.
Yeah.
In a tough tournament. So
I think a little bit better numbers for them. Was there a weight class that kind of stood out to you at all? I know the final at 152 kind of caught my eye a little bit with Corbin of West Des Moines Valley beating Yant of Waverly Shell Rock there. Cale Ranavardi of Don Bosco was 3rd.
And speaking of Ranavardi, you got to remember he placed last year at 170 just so he could make the team.
Right.
And I think his descent is to go to 45 yet this year.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
so that tells you a lot about
the depth.
what he did
a year ago.
A year ago to do that. Gabe Lewis with a nice win at 138. Aiden Riggins of Waverly Shell Rock was a dominant. And then Colin Shriver of Mason City, Iowa commit, broke his ankle.
Broke his ankle
At the end of last season. Tried to give it a go. I think still placed at state.
He got to the semifinals, but hurt his shoulder.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then defaulted out. And I'll just throw something out here as long as we're on Cullen. I got a article coming out on. I'll either put it out today or first thing in the morning on Cullen over the weekend.
Okay. So make sure you check out the predicament for that content as well. Look forward to reading that also. But a good showing for Waverly Shell Rock and some of those individuals there at the Keith Young. So one of the other ones we wanted to kind of touch on was the Bob Murphy Invitational at Manchester, West Delaware. Hosts that every year. Used to be the Hawk Invitational, and they named it for the. He's coached wrestling. He's been an AD. He was an AD at West Delaware, longtime official as well. And that was one of the things I was going to say. Maybe Bob Siddons did it, but how many people get to officiate the tournament that's actually named after him? Because I think he had the whistle this weekend, Saturday. Waterloo West had the Bob Siddons a tournament. I would assume maybe it was named that while he was officiating still, and he worked it. But Bob Murphy working the old.
I think most people would try and avoid it. Murphy wasn't the coach, so he was
Right.
the AD there. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit different situation. But if with that conflict of interest, I would think any old coach that starts picks up roughing would probably try and avoid their school.
So
But
you
he's
probably won't be working the Jayhawk Invitational with the finals.
Not likely, yeah. But I was different situation. I'm not going to be able to do it because of a conflict with watching Kyle Russell.
Sure.
But the John Haggerty duels, I could do that and still not rough a Jeff dual meet or whatever.
Sure.
If it's a dual tournament, different story.
But
And
give him a neat deal for Murph. Though.
Very neat.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I was just going to throw out there, isn't he the commissioner of the WAMAC now?
Might be.
I
Might
think
be.
he is, as well as the executive secretary of the Iowa Wrestling Coaches Association. So he's a busy guy.
West Delaware came away with a victory. Scored 308 points. Second place, Nathan. Want to take a guess on who was second? Grinnell.
He looked.
Alma mater? No,
That's his alma mater.
That's his alma mater.
I know.
So the Tigers came away with second place there in front of DeWitt Central. But boy, West Delaware.
West Delaware had 8 champs, 3
Dominant.
runners up, a third, a fourth, and a sixth, so all 14 placed. They look good. Their state champs are looking good.
Yeah, Keaton Zemet with a title for DeWitt Central, kind of getting in there in the lower weights. Brock Beck of Grinnell with a 5-1 victory in the finals at 132 to come away with the title as well. Jackson Rolfs of Decorah, actually with a victory at 145, beating Jaden Payton in the finals.
When I saw that, it was like, wow.
That was impressive.
Yeah, it was.
Of course, teammate Kaiser Engen of Decorah won there, and Red Oak even with a champion. Red Oak coming all the way over from Western Iowa. Justin McCune with a win at 170 over Jared Voss in the finals there, and then West Delaware won out.
No,
Except for
220.
220, Cameron Stevenson gave Grinnell their second title, and then Carson Petlin finished things off. So the Hawks dominant is kind of expected there.
Yeah. I did do the duel last Thursday with Waverly and West Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were 2 returning state champion teams, and got to watch Volker and Braden Wolf in a. That was the start off of the duel, and
Oh, what a way to start off.
it was. It been kind of fun to have it last, but Wolf got a late takedown to win 6-4. Great match. We've heard about Wolf and Volker all summer. You know how good they are, and it was a great match. So, and it was a great dual meet. Great setting. You know, of course, West Delaware draws well.
Yeah, they travel well.
Yes, they do.
We're kind of going back to the Bob Murphy thing. Do you suppose he did an immediate warning to the Benton community coach?
Yeah, probably.
TJ Murphy.
with his son TJ in the corner, might have.
Okay, I'm going to warn you before we even get up from the breakfast table here. No, that wouldn't be Bob
But-
or TJ.
I don't know. Bob is pretty quick with the stall calls, from what I understand. Yes, Murph, I'm talking to you. That's a long story. I'll tell you afterwards. But, a little fun I have with Murph there. This weekend coming up, some more action. I know one of the bigger ones in the area, Mount Vernon. The Mount Vernon Invite. I believe, has Linn-Mar changed its schedule to where their tournament is this weekend now instead of the first weekend of January? Why?
No, it's
I
still in
don't know.
January.
Yeah, it's still in
Okay.
January because I didn't see it listed at all. I had
I
actually
know for a
gone,
fact it's in January. Yep.
actually gone through and
I can tell you the date too. It is.
looked up all the tournaments, and Mount Vernon was this weekend.
It's January 11th.
Yeah, West Delaware. I'll just go through it here quick. West Delaware of the number one ranked 2A team is at South Winneshiek. Bettendorf is at the Waverly Duels, and Bosco is at Appleton Parkersburg. But Lisbon is at Mount Vernon.
Right.
That's where they're at.
So
And I believe
Bettendorf's going to be.
West Liberty's there too.
Correct.
Maybe Assumption.
Assumption, Beckman, Cascade, East Buchanan, Louisa Muscatine, Marion is there, Muscatine, Sigourney, Keota, Wapello, Wapsie Valley, Washington, Iowa, and Xavier.
And Bettendorf, I'm going back to the Bettendorf Waverly duels there. We'll be wrestling Waverly now, this time in a duel situation.
Situation,
so
yes.
The number one Bettendorf, or maybe formerly by then.
Burlington, Clear Creek, Amana, Clear Lake, City High, Kaukauna, Wisconsin is there, Kennedy, Newton, and as
Kennedy as well. Hey, good.
yeah, as well as the host Waverly.
Okay.
Solid.
So where I was confused at, on the MVC website, they have Linn-Mar actually hosting Prairie for a duel this Saturday at 2 p.m. So
That's unusual.
Yeah, very unusual. So we'll have to double check that to make sure. But
Linn-Mar
has
is
a
hosting whom?
Prairie for
On
a
a Saturday.
duel on a Saturday
Oh.
at 2 p.m. according to the MVC website. But I take that with a grain of salt for right now, and see what exactly is going on there. But we've seen some really good finals matches at Mount Vernon over the years. S. Moyle and was it Robertson from Assumption? There as well. The Meekers from Wapello, and Noonan's from Cascade have been a part of that as well. Seeing Lisbon and West Liberty go down to the final match to decide the team race before, so it's always a good event there at Mount Vernon, and should be the same with a really talented Lisbon team leading the way.
That's always a good tournament.
Yep.
Always over there.
So, one other thing you wanted to mention about last week, obviously with Kel Happel going for 4 titles, Allard from West
West
Sioux
Sioux.
is going through the same thing, and he came away with a championship.
He came away with
last
championship out at Okoboji. Got a pin in in the finals in less than a minute. So I don't know what kind of whole competition it was out there, but he's so far looking good. Early in the season, this weekend they are headed to had it in here someplace. Oakland Riverside, I believe, is where
Okay.
they're heading. Invitational down there.
Okay, so keep tracks on him as well. This Thursday, Coach Briggs and I will be at it again. This time we'll be in Iowa City. We'll be calling the MVC duel between Western Dubuque and Iowa City City High for KCRG 9.2.
It's a
Started at
regional
7
duel.
o'clock.
Was that a regional duel final last year?
Yes, Western Dubuque won that at Western Dubuque to go to the state duels. So
One other bit of news, slightly alarming. Last week, 11 duels were canceled in the state due to not enough officials. So again, I'm making a call out to anyone that's interested. If you're at all interested in officiating, we're having a meeting, our Eastern Iowa Wrestling Officials Association meeting, and it'll either be at Grantwood AEA or at Prairie. I'm not sure which one in the wrestling room this Wednesday. So if you're interested, please contact me. Go to the website, and if you're interested at all, please show up and we'll get you started. Make it easy for you and help you out. So obviously we're getting to desperate times if they're canceling 11 duels in the state.
That's a lot.
That's
a
alarming. It's a great opportunity to stay involved. Not only can you make a little cash on the side, but it's just a great way to remain in the sport of wrestling. And you know, you're a part of this great family, this great community as well. And not to mention, you know, kind of the giving back component to where kids can't wrestle if we don't have officials. You're giving these kids an opportunity to learn and enjoy this great sport by being out there and donning the stripes, you know, like Coach Briggs has done after, you know, he was done coaching. It's just a great opportunity to give back to the sport as well as make some cash and stay involved. So.
Yeah, and it'd be frustrating if your son or daughter was ready to wrestle and all of a sudden couldn't make it because there wasn't any official there.
Right, and I think it might have been more, but some of the teams combined to make it maybe a quad or something like
Right.
that. You know,
Did what they had
would have
to
been
do
even
to-
more. And I will say this: I appreciate the fans and the coaches that go easy on officials. You know, because that's part of it. I think is chasing in any
Officials
sport,
away.
not just wrestling. I honestly don't hear a lot of it. I know it's out there. Maybe it's a good thing, a bad thing. I don't know, but. Maybe we're taking easy on the old guy or whatever, but you know, that's important. You know, officials they're not clockwork, and sometimes we watch it on TV, and those guys are so good, and even when they look at the review, you know, they might miss it, or sometimes they're spot on, and I don't know how they do it, but they're human, they're going to make mistakes, so let that happen. That's part of it. So anyway.
Yep. So keep that in mind. If you have the opportunity to be able to be involved in that way, please do, and please try to join the ranks of the officials because it'll only help the sport overall. So got a 1 week down, great action already, a lot more coming up, and this time of year is pretty busy. One last thing, have you guys got my Christmas present yet?
It's in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You know, Porch Pirates.
Back ordered.
Somebody might have jumped up.
Hey, if that happened, it could have.
Might have. I'll double check.
Or was mine back ordered? I think maybe.
Yours is back order. Okay. All right. I'm picking yours up tomorrow. So, just so you know. But anyway, thanks again for watching. If anybody wants to get us presents, just shoot me a line at Twitter at KJ Pilcher,
Predicament_IA.
and we'll respond with our favorite colors and sizes and stuff like that too. So, but make sure you follow us along at least for the wrestling coverage as well. And make sure you tune in next week for the next edition of the Pinning Combination podcast. Thanks for watching.
As always, let's keep wrestling on the move.
Thanks, everyone.